Listen to the story of Hannibal Barca, a legendary figure in the pages of history. He was no ordinary commander, he was a symbol of courage, genius, and determination. His name became part of a legend that was feared and admired throughout the Roman Empire. From childhood, Hannibal was burdened with the burden of war and leadership. Coming from an honorable Carthaginian family, young Hannibal learned military wisdom and strategic thinking from his father. According to legends, even at a young age, his faith and curiosity in the art of warfare ignited fire in his eyes. When that magical moment came, Hannibal became one of Carthage's heroes. As the Roman Empire rose like an eagle, Hannibal was ready to challenge Rome. But his plan was no ordinary battle strategy. He chose an unusual way to surprise his enemy. To shake Rome to its foundations, Hannibal decided to cross the formidable Alps with his army. This incredible maneuver required not only the courage of the warriors, but also superhuman determination and supernatural vision. The mountains towered before Hannibal, but he was undaunted by any challenge. He overcame snowy peaks, crossed dangerous passes, and finally set foot on Italian soil. When Hannibal set foot in Rome, he knew he would change the course of history. He won a series of crushing victories against the Roman armies and began to shake the foundations of his empire. Fear echoed in the heart of Rome. Hannibal became famous for his tactics that brought Carthage to the brink of victory. Hannibal Barca is one of the most important figures in history for his perspective towards Rome. As a Carthaginian leader, his perspective includes both respect for and opposition to the Roman Empire, which he saw as a powerful enemy. His father's vows of revenge for Rome as a young boy shaped his perspective. Hannibal grew up as part of Carthage's ongoing conflict with the Roman Empire. First, he grew up in a family that believed that Carthage should fight the Roman Empire. Therefore, Hannibal sees Rome as a threat and grows up determined to challenge Rome so that Carthage can deal with it. Hannibal's view of Rome emphasizes Rome's policies of constant expansion and actions that were detrimental to Carthage's interests. In his view, Rome, as an empire motivated by the hunger for power and territory, seeks to destroy Carthage. Therefore, Hannibal went to great lengths to fight against Rome and ensure the security of Carthage. However, Hannibal's perspective was not only based on hostility. He also appreciated the military and political power of Rome. He admired the Roman Empire's organized and disciplined army, effective system of governance, and ability to use resources. Therefore, he developed creative and innovative strategies to defeat Rome. Hannibal's view of Rome was shaped not only as a military opponent but also as a champion of justice. In his eyes, Rome was far from being a symbol of justice and equality. Rome's expansionist policies, according to Hannibal, violated the freedoms and rights of other peoples. Therefore, Hannibal aimed to use the power of Carthage to stop Rome and restore justice. In conclusion, Hannibal Barca's view of Rome is a balance between respect and antagonism. He both saw Rome as a powerful enemy and challenged Rome to protect the justice and freedom of Carthage. Hannibal challenged Rome with his strategic genius and fighting skills, and set an unforgettable example of resistance in history. Hannibal Barca was the brave and brilliant commander of Carthage, one of the greatest rivals of the ancient Roman Empire. Hannibal, who lived in the 3rd century BC, is considered one of the most important figures in history, not only for his military strategies, but also for his leadership skills and tactical genius. Hannibal's story takes place during the rise of the Roman Empire. He was a general from a family with a strong military tradition in Carthage and honed his fighting skills at a young age. But his greatest achievement was his astonishing and extraordinary campaigns against Rome. His most famous move was to enter Italy through the Alps and strike Rome by land. This strategic maneuver demonstrates Hannibal's unprecedented heroism. Reaching the heart of Italy by crossing difficult mountain passes with his army, Hannibal defeated the Roman armies in a series of great victories and shook the Roman Empire. Hannibal not only used his military genius in his campaigns, but also innovated in battle tactics. His offensive strategies, known as the legendary Hannibal's tactics, are still studied and admired by military historians and commanders. In particular, the famous Carthaginian general's use of the war elephant to defeat Rome is considered a unique move in the history of warfare. But Hannibal's victory did not last long. Rome developed a tactical response that led Hannibal to retreat and attack Carthage. Eventually, Hannibal's defeat became inevitable and he was forced to submit to Rome in the Second Punic War, which resulted in the fall of Carthage. Hannibal Barca's story is a symbol of courage, determination and strategic thinking, as well as leadership and resistance. Hannibal, who left an unforgettable mark on history, is an intriguing figure both for his military genius and for the war he waged against the Roman Empire. Hannibal Barca of Carthage was born in 247 BC in Carthage, a Phoenician colony on the Tunisian peninsula. He was the son of the Carthaginian commander Hamilcar Barca, the famous hero of the First Carthaginian War. He started to participate in wars with his father at an early age. At his father's request, he swore an oath to always bear a grudge against Rome. After his father's death, Hamilcar's son-in-law Hasdrubal took charge of the armies. It was during this period, around 229 BC, that Hannibal was commissioned as an officer in the Carthaginian army. After Hasdrubal's assassination, the Carthaginian army unanimously appointed Hannibal Barca to lead Carthage's army in Spain. In Roman biographer Cornelius Nepos' work on the lives of famous commanders, it is said, Hannibal of Carthage was the son of Hamilcar. Hannibal was as superior to other commanders as the Roman people were superior to other peoples in courage. Whenever he fought the Romans in Italy, he always emerged victorious. If he had not been the envy of his own countrymen, he might have succeeded in subjugating the Romans. But the jealousy of many people overshadowed Hannibal's courage. In Cornelius Nepos' work, he describes his hatred of the Romans as follows: he developed his hatred of Rome, which he inherited from his father, to such an extent that in the end he almost preferred to die rather than lose it. Indeed, after he was expelled from his country, even when he tried to enlist the support of other peoples, he kept the idea of fighting the Romans in his mind. In 218 BC, in Rome, senators were banned by law from trading and owning large ships. All these laws were passed by representatives of the people. All these progressive advances disturbed the Senate. The Senate launches the Second Carthaginian Wars as a remedy to turn the people's attention, which had been focused inwardly and was turning against the rich day by day, to external problems. The Roman Senate broke its treaty with Carthage and took the city of Saguntum in Spain under its protection. The commander of the Carthaginian army, 25-year-old Hannibal, is looking for an excuse to fight Rome. He besieges and captures Saguntum. The Romans demand Carthage to hand Hannibal over to them, but Carthage refuses. This war, also known in history as the Hannibal War, Carthage War, is one of the most important battles in world history. Just as Rome was planning to land in Africa, Hannibal marched from Spain to Italy with a large army including elephants. He took control of Spain and strengthened his rule by marrying a Spanish princess. Hannibal had war elephants, although their number is different in different sources. In order to make the elephants fight, they were given an allergic powder and made itchy and angry. Before the battle, elephants were also given wine to give them courage. The elephants of that day were like the tanks of today. But sometimes the elephants would attack their own army, and then the elephant driver would kill the elephant by stabbing it in the head with a pike. After leaving an army under the command of his brother Hasdrubal in Spain, Hannibal moved from Spain in 218 BC, crossed the Pyrenees Mountains and entered southern France. Continuing his march, Hannibal crossed the Alps despite the slow-moving elephants in his army and landed on the plain. The first battle with the Roman army here is won by Carthage. Then, crossing the Po River, Hannibal defeats the Roman army once again after a 2-month interval by the Trebia Water. As a result of these two battles, Rome lost northern Italy. Continuing his march, Hannibal once again defeats the outnumbered Roman army under the command of Consul Flamininus on the shore of Lake Trasimenus. After this heavy defeat, the Roman Senate convenes and elects Fabius Maximus as dictator and put him in charge. The dictator Q. Fabius Maximus' erratic behavior leads to the election of L. Aemilius Paulus and M. Terentius Varro as consuls in 216 BC. Rome puts a large army under the command of these two consuls, and this army is defeated by Hannibal at the Battle of Cannae in the same year. After Roman commander Scipio's victories against Hannibal's brother Hasdrubal in Spain, Hannibal's ability to get additional forces from Spain disappeared, but he captured many cities in southern Italy in 212 BC. Although Hannibal penetrated as far as Rome in 211 BC, he retreated to southern Italy since he did not have the power to besiege the city. In 207 BC, Hannibal's brother Hasdrubal set out from Spain and entered northern Italy with a large army. When Hasdrubal lost the battle with the Roman army near the Metaurus River, which flows into the Adriatic Sea, Hasdrubal died in this battle. This time Hannibal's younger brother Mago landed on the shores of Liguria with a smaller force. However, he could not find the opportunity to reach Hannibal. Hannibal, realizing that he was doomed, landed on the African coast at Hadramedum with his army when he received the news that Consul Scipio was marching towards Carthage. The two armies met at Zama. Hannibal suffered the heaviest defeat of his military life here. Thereupon, a peace treaty was signed between Rome and Carthage. In 201 BC, Carthage was forced to accept a treaty with harsh conditions. Despite his large-scale military campaigns, Hannibal was able to devote some of his time to literature and is reported to have written several works in Greek. It is understood that one of them was about the operations of the Roman commander Gnaeus Manlius Vulso in Asia, while another was addressed to the Rhodians. Hannibal, who secretly escaped from Carthage after losing the war, first stayed in the palace of Antiochus for a while. Forced to flee once again, Hannibal wandered around the region for a while and finally settled in the palace of Prusias, the king of Bithynia. Eventually, Hannibal died or was killed by the persistent pursuit of the Romans, who followed him like a shadow from the moment he fled to Anatolia in 183 BC. According to many sources from the period, the manner of Hannibal's death is far from clear. There is more than one reported manner of death, such as poisoning himself, having his slaves strangle him, or dying from a wound inflicted by his own sword while fleeing. Although this issue has been handled in different ways by ancient writers, the information is generally concentrated on the point that he poisoned himself. Prusia's attitude towards Hannibal in the face of the insistent demands of the Roman delegation and his surrender of Hannibal also seem to contradict each other. Therefore, it is understood that the information on these issues varies according to the perception of Hannibal by the authors who conveyed this information. Although we have conflicting information about the manner of Hannibal's death, almost all sources agree on Labissa, a small settlement in Bithynia, as the place where he died and spent his last days. Although Labissa is shown by the sea and near the river valley in the sources, this place is equated with Gebs. However, many modern researchers who examine the road map and ancient sources concluded that Labissa could not be Gebs, and suggested different locations such as Herik, Tavsinsil, Yalanka Bayer, Jeblas Tepe and Dil Iskalisi for Labissa and therefore Hannibal's tomb. Even though the exact location of the tomb could not be determined in the studies carried out due to Ataturk's great interest, a symbolic monumental tomb was built in the area south of Gebs as an expression of Ataturk's request and Ataturk's respect for Hannibal.